everybody. Welcome back to the show, episode 3516 of the Cabral Concept. Can't wait to get into part 2 of our Cabral House Calls every single weekend, answering our community's questions and exactly how they are written in. So I always like to say there's no prep for the show. There's no editing. Whatever you write in, that is what I answer. If you want to ask your question for a future show, head on over to stephencabral.com/askcabral. All right, let's dive into today's first question. It is from Raina. Raina says, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thank you so much for all the information that you so generously share." Thank you, Raina. "I recently had a baby 8 weeks ago. My last detox was the summer of 2023. I was trying to conceive for a little over a year. I plan to breastfeed for a couple of years and would like to have another baby in that time as well. So it will be several years before I can do another detox. I'm wondering what I can do while breastfeeding to support my body and also help me lose weight. I began walking 5 days a week and very light strength training 3 times a week. My first detox, I lost 16 pounds and another 20 in the couple months after. I would love to do that again, but I just can't right now. I have approximately 25 pounds I'd like to lose while breastfeeding and before having another baby. What could best help me get there and support my goals?" All right. Happy to help with this. So here's the nice thing. You are burning an extra 200 to 300 calories typically per day for the first at least 6 months or so of nursing breastfeeding. It really depends on how often you are nursing. But here's the nice thing. Between walking, starting some body weight exercises, nursing, making sure that your nutrition is dialed in and more of an anti-inflammatory plan, you're going to be active. You're going to be able to lose that weight. You really are. A functional medicine detox, the one we do by Equal Life, is great. I'm not going to say it's not, but I agree. Probably not the right season you're in right now to complete another detox. So 2 to 3 days a week of strength training, not overly strenuous. I know that right now, again, you're trying to get your rest, trying to get your sleep. All of those things are great. And you should be, right? You should prioritize sleep, prioritize self-care. But I definitely recommend you being able to get in a 20-minute workout, maybe 30 minutes of weight training 3 times a week. Because when we want to keep muscle mass up, so if you find yourself sitting more, we obviously don't want that with a new baby, nursing a lot, trying to get in your naps and sleep whenever you can. I totally get it. Then obviously they get a little bit older, a little bit harder to come by. So here's the thing though, we can walk. That'll be great for you to be able to do. Get in your 7,500 to 10,000 steps per day. I guess over the course of a week, that would be about 75,000, right? So that's the goal. And then that's going to be essentially the cardio that you need. And then you're eating a clean diet. You're not reducing calories too low because you need to keep up your own nourishment for your body. So that's for sure where I would start. Taking the daily activated multi, daily omega-3, your vitamin D3, those are your minimum 3 I would take. And then if you need more iron or anything like that, you'll take that as well. All right. So Raina, hopefully that's helpful. Lisa's up next. "My adult son was diagnosed with tinea, or it's sometimes called Tinea Versicolor. Several years ago, he was a teenager following a family trip to Colombia. He was seen by a dermatologist and treated and told it would most likely come back and that he should use Selsun Blue shampoo on the affected area once a month to help clear it up. My question is there something more permanent he could do? I understand this is a skin fungal infection, but it seems like there should be something he could do to completely alleviate it. I saw a previous question about children, wondering what you would recommend for an adult test that could be run, etc. Thank you." Okay, happy to help with this. And it's really the same for children as well. Work with, at least dozens, if not maybe 50 to 100 individuals in my practice with this. So my answer is always going to be, you can just run one lab. That's the Candida metabolic and vitamins test. That's going to look for yeast and fungal-based overgrowth inside the gut, right? So Candida overgrowth and bacterial imbalance. If you can run the whole starter kit, that's the minerals along with it, because there could be an imbalance with zinc and copper, and that is absolutely needed for skin-based infections. So that's called the starter kit. That's at stephencabral.com/starter-kit. Again, you don't have to purchase anything from Equal Life if you don't want, but at least see what we do, what works, and then you can work with a practitioner if you want near you. But I will say, just be careful with that, because if they don't specialize in integrative health, you might not get the results you want, even though you're running the same labs, right? Okay, because what really matters is the reading of the lab and then also the protocol. That's what helps people, not just the data, not just the numbers. So that's what I would do. Then if there is a gut-based issue, We'll do the SIBO protocol. We might add the citruscytal drops if it's egregious enough. And then topically, we'll be doing a base oil of either jojoba or olive oil or coconut oil or argan oil, olive oil too, if I didn't mention that. And then we'll add in 2 to 3 drops of tea tree oil. So no more than a half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of whatever the base oil is. And then we add in 2 to 3 drops of the tea tree oil. And then we apply that to the infected area. So I'm rubbing my elbow because I used to have it on my elbow back as a teenager in early 20s. So yeah. All right. Hopefully that's helpful, Lisa. Ashley's up next. Hi, Dr. Ball. I recently started drinking hydrogen water at the starter pH of 8.5 per your recent reviews on the topic. Thank you, as always, for the deep dive. But let me say it's been 3 days and holy, I'm just going to replace that word because it's a family show. Holy heck, I am detoxing. Bowel, skin, headaches, post-nasal drip, etc. The materials from your team state that this is expected to titrate slowly, but the materials don't explain why this detox phase happens drinking higher pH water. Can you talk about what's happening in the body during this phase and how long you might expect to have symptoms before stabilizing? My husband is scared to start drinking it now. Haha. Thanks as always for what you and your team do for us. Okay, Ashley, happy to help. So this is not a normal reaction, but it does happen, right? When we do our Parasupport Pro, that's a parasite cleanse detox that we do over at Equal Life. We recommend it once a year. It's 95, 99 out of 100 people, totally fine. 1 to 5 out of 100, might have an issue. But here's the thing, it's not a bad thing, but it is what's called a Herxheimer reaction. So when someone has something truly in their body that really needs to be detoxed, I'm going to put that in air quotes, and I'll explain exactly what it means, this can't happen. So for those individuals, I just dove right in. When I started drinking hydrogen water, I just dove in, started drinking 1 liter a day, no problem. Now I drink probably 2 liters a day. So the higher pH isn't necessarily 8.5 is not a super high pH water, to be honest with you. It's not just the pH, which is the 8.5, it's the amount of hydrogen. So it's the amount of hydrogen you're experiencing. So you're going from a regular water, which if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, please do yourself this favor. Like I did it for myself a couple of years back. Go to stevencabral.com/hydrogen-water. And it's HYDROGEN-water. So I tested all the different waters. I show you that most have what are called a positive ORP. Now, positive, you might think oh, that's a good thing, but positive ions not necessarily better. We want negative ions, right? We want things that are antioxidants. You want a negative ORP. So most water is not a negative ORP. So even the best spring waters are basically neutral, maybe slightly negative ORP. The things that are more negative ORP would be green juices, some organic brands of coffee, but really those are 50 to maybe 100, usually more 25 to 50 for a negative ORP. Hydrogen water can be a negative 500, right? It could be more. So what does that mean? Your body is reducing oxidative stress and helping to kill a lot of these things that shouldn't be there. So what do I recommend? Start literally with a half a glass a day. That's it. You could drink half of that half glass in the morning and the half of that half glass at night, and don't drink it on an empty stomach right away. Now, again, most people can dive right in, but some people you want to go slower. And so it usually just means, because this is just straight hydrogen. Remember, hydrogen is in all water. It's H2O. The first part is hydrogen. We all need it. Hydrogen water just increases what you would naturally get from nature, with the spring and natural running spring. So it is powerful. I can't recommend it enough. Yes, there's a cost to it, but it lasts. The machine is warranted for 25 to 30 years. You can check out what I'm talking about at stevencabral.com/hydrogen-water. Same exact one I purchased. And literally I purchased it myself. All right. Al is up next. Let's see. Al says, Dr. Bral, I'm an IHP, not residing in the US, so I have access to different labs and supplements. No problem, Al. We'll help you out here. The laboratory I work with offers a 5 times cortisol sample, the last sample being collected in the middle of the night. Is the night cortisol collection relevant for regular clients or only for specific cases? My second question is about SIFO versus SIBO, or SIFO without SIBO. Would undecyllic acid, isn't it much better than caprylic acid? With d'Arco, citruscytal and S-Boulardi be a good plan for slightly elevated yeast markers? If so, are 2 months sufficient? Thank you. Okay, so this is someone kind of building their own protocol because they're not in the US and they're looking for what we use and trying to find another country. Perfect. Great. Let's help here. Okay. So would I ever wake somebody up in the middle of the night to collect cortisol, meaning to collect saliva to see if their cortisol is the reason they woke up? I would only do it in the clients that are waking up at 1 a.m. or 3 a.m., like somewhere in that, 2, 3 a.m. hour. If they're not waking up just to urinate, but they are waking up and they usually are up for 20, 30 minutes, sure, you could take that sample. For everybody else, honestly, I wouldn't bother with it. Like, I don't know. I would never wake someone up in the middle of the night to take this sample unless I believed cortisol. Well, again, if they're sleeping through the night, then I'm not as worried about the elevated cortisol, right? Because they're sleeping. So that's kind of up to you. I would say it is a specialty case. And yeah, in some cases that you can definitely do it. There's no issue with that. So we do the 4 sample. We don't wake people up in the middle of the night. If we ever needed to, we have something called a bedtime cortisol. They could certainly take that single one if they wanted to. Okay, so someone has fungal overgrowth without bacterial overgrowth. Totally get it. The same protocol works for either. That's the nice thing. And yes, undecilic acid is a great one to use for fungal-based overgrowth. You can get it with usually caprylic acid and sometimes just as a derivative all on its own. And so, yeah, that's great. Powder arco is fantastic. Citracidal is fantastic. And Saccharomyces boulardii is fantastic. And then after that, you would move into what we do in month 2, which would be the Lactobacillus acidophilus to start repopulating the gut. And then eventually we use the daily probiotic support. So I absolutely think that you are on the right track. And I think 8 weeks to 12 weeks of that is perfect. The citracidal we only use for 3 weeks. So I wouldn't go more than 3 weeks on that. And you're going to be doing really well. A couple other ones that you might want to look into: oregano oil. So oregano is fantastic for fungal, and so is thyme, so is clove. Those are all great. All right. All right, Tommy's up next. Tommy says, hey, the legendary Dr. C. Thanks, Tommy. I started the heavy metal detox a couple months back, and the heavy metal detox capsules themselves caused me a histamine reaction. I tried to half the dose, and while the reaction is less, it's still there. I've already done the SIBO protocol. I know my mercury is high, so could really do with removing this. Any ideas? Should I take some Histpro alongside of it? Okay, yeah, great question. So yeah, it's like this catch-22, and I was there myself. It's so hard because even when I was thinking about, I was exhausted all the time, yet I couldn't fall asleep at night. And the only way to fall asleep was for medical doctors to give me Ambien or Lunesta. And the problem is, you fall asleep on those, but it's not really deep quality sleep, and you wake up super groggy. And so then you're groggy all morning, you try to caffeinate, you try to do whatever you can, you wake up after lunchtime, and then you can't fall asleep at night. So it's brutal. So I totally get where you're coming from, and I had the same issues. I had really high levels of mercury. Luckily, I had a good integrative health doctor when I was 19. He found the elevated levels of mercury. But then, like you said, you do these antimicrobials that have chlorella and spirulina and other things, and those can be elevated and lift histamine levels. So the best thing is that you're doing what you're doing. We have to get them out of the body. So first we do sauna and sweating. That's a great thing, right? That's going to help lower the load. You're going to do the manual lymph drainage or rebounding, or maybe some coffee enemas once a week or twice a week, and do that before 12 o'clock in the afternoon because you don't want to, stimulate the body too much. But also you're using alkalizing vitamin C and Hispro. So alkalizing vitamin C could be a half a scoop to 1 scoop 2 to 3 times away from food during the day. Hispro 2 to 3 capsules 3 times a day. The sauna that I spoke about, probably not too much sauna, because if you get too hot, you might increase histamines as well. So that's why, again, these things are all catch-22. So you just very gradually work your way up. And then you can always take the enzyme DAO, diamine oxidase. And although it's not like this immediate relief and whatever it might be, if you take them enough on an empty stomach and even before meals, and even before the capsules, it can sometimes mitigate a little bit of the histamine reaction. All right. And then of course, make sure you're getting in your 12 to 16 hour overnight fast, because the fast will help clear some of the histamines as well. All right, Tommy, sounds like you're doing a great job. Appreciate everybody writing in here today. I'll be back tomorrow on a brand new Cabral concept, our Mindset and Motivation Monday. Don't miss it. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.